Hello, women in the room. We are so excited to be here. We were exchanging notes backstage. Ivanka and I said, first I'm going to start off by saying, notice my shoes, because they are from the Ivanka Trump collection.
Looking good.
And you were wearing who, Ivanka Trump?
Head to toe.
Head to toe, Ivanka Trump. So we are
Of course.
really excited to be having this conversation. I said we're having a sense of deja vu because we were both sitting here last year having a conversation. I also pulled this out of the paper. Ivanka said, what is that? And it says, Hot Mama, H-A-U-T-E, Ivanka Trump looking absurdly great in a red floral frock as she leaves the hospital after giving birth to Theodore James. So congratulations on baby number 3.
Thank you. Thank you.
How old is he?
He is now 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
So we're getting our sea legs slowly.
I know, I heard the murmurs, 6 weeks and she looks like that. Ivanka, it took me 15 years to lose my baby weight. And how are the older two adjusting? Because, you know, my kids are 11 months apart, and I think in the beginning, Kirby had a thing with her brother, like, how long is he staying?
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, they're still in the novelty phase, and it's starting to wear off where they realize, baby's kind of boring. He doesn't play with us. He doesn't talk back. So, but no, it's really interesting to see the dynamic, and it's really fun as a parent to watch them interact with each other. My daughter, who's 4.5, is very confident of her position as queen of our household. So she had no worries with Theodore coming into our home. Joseph, he's a bit more of a mama's boy, so I was a bit concerned about him, but he's having fun.
Did you feel any different having the third as you did having the first? Do you think you're a better mother? Do you think it's a harder job for you now?
Well, I have much more confidence.
Yeah.
So with Arabella, I was very nervous, as any first-time mom is, about dropping her, about everything.
Yeah.
About will she ever sleep through the night. With Theodore, which took a while, with Theodore I'm much more relaxed because I realize this really special moment is so fleeting. So I'm much more present when I'm with him. I'm much less nervous, and I'm really trying to enjoy it in a way that with Arabella I was almost too nervous to enjoy those moments.
No, I think we get better at it when we have more. Would you like more? Would you like another one? Maybe number 4 or 5?
Ask me in another year. I haven't totally ruled it out, but I think I've got my hands full.
So was it a given that you would be a part of the Trump organization? Did you ever think about law school, med school, TV news, or air conditioning repair? Did you ever think about anything other than what you're doing now?
Not really, actually. I knew very early on what I wanted to do.
What did you know?
I knew that I wanted to be a builder. I knew that I wanted to be in real estate. What I didn't know is the other opportunities that would present themselves to me. So, you know, I think when I look back to the 18-year-old Ivanka, I was very linear. I wanted to be in real estate, and I've known that since I was a very little girl, and I felt very confident of that for a long time. But I wanted to build X number of buildings. I wanted to change these amazing city skylines. But I wasn't really thinking beyond that in the other fields that I would be interested in. So it's been very interesting for me to also develop my own company, develop new businesses alongside my family, my brothers who I work with, and my father at the Trump Organization. And now when I think forward over the next decade, I'm a little bit more open-minded to the fact that I think I know myself to be very entrepreneurial by nature. So it's actually quite fun to know that I want to do everything I'm doing now at a more exciting and higher level, but there may be areas that I could have never conceived of before.
So what happens if there's a disagreement, because your brothers are also involved in the organization, with your dad, your brothers, and you?
I win, of course. No, it's, you know, one of the interesting things, and I'm sure there are many people in this room who are in family businesses, and I found them to either work out very well or very badly. And there's almost nothing in between, so it tends to be a very binary outcome, and I'm highly cognizant of that, as are my siblings. So we make a lot of effort to be respectful of one another, to really support each other, never to undermine one another. And you know, I think when we started working together, we all said that as a collective we could do much more than any one of us could do individually. And we really believe that, so it makes it much easier. So in our case, we've been very fortunate that it does work really well, and hopefully that continues in the decades to come. but we don't take it for granted. So when family business does work well, and I think everyone here who's in one knows, you push each other. You complement each other. You don't let things go if you deeply feel like it's the wrong direction. So, I think we really challenge each other to be the best versions of ourselves, and it's been great.
I know, but I think a lot of people look at you, and you're always looking so glamorous, so pulled together. And I think people wonder how you pull it off, because this is how you do. You run the Trump organization, a big chunk of that. You've created a clothing line. You got to hit the campaign trail, and you have to raise 3 children, all very young children under the age of 5. And I'm wondering if you have a certain system that works for you, or are you figuring it out as you go? What's your process?
No, I think, for me, because life is, especially when you have toddlers, I have 3 children under the age of 4.5, so it's just chaos. Everything is chaotic, and that's.
I know. I like
really
how I said 5 and she said under the age of 4.5.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a.
There is a
It's actually.
I get it.
It's actually closer to 5 now.
I get it. I get it.
But it's a wild, chaotic, exhausting time in my life. But I don't think I'd want it ultimately any other way. So it's working for me. But in terms of how I navigate my different roles, and both as a parent and as an executive, but also relative to my different businesses and where I'm spending my time. I think I try to distill it for myself as prioritization. So I try to be where I'm needed to be at that point in time, and to me that's what matters the most. So at the end of the week, I think back and say, was I with my children when I needed to be with my children? Did they feel like I was there when they needed me? And if I accomplish that, I feel good. There are some weeks I don't perfectly accomplish that. And the same in business. So am I focusing on the areas of our business that need me the most, that will gain the most leverage from my being present? Or am I getting bogged down in the minutia that somebody else could be doing, arguably better than I could?
Because I've heard you say many times that you want to change the narrative of women who work. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we are a generation now where the majority of us are in the workforce, and there's still this hilarious caricature of the working woman, which is very one-dimensional and very flat. And I don't think that represents any of the people in this room or any of the working women out there. But there's this negative bias. When you think about a working man, nobody says working man. I don't think I've ever heard the expression
working man,
a man who works, or a working man. Yet when it's applied to women, there's a connotation. And I believe that will change by the time, I'm hopeful that will change by the time my daughter's an adult. But I really want to be part of the effort to change that. And I launched a website, IvankaTrump.com. I launched a campaign, Women Who Work, where I've asked friends of mine, and some of them are actually in this room, who are very successful, who have built amazing businesses, young, smart millennial women, what work means to them.
Yeah.
And their professional title is only one small part of that. We're all working at creating the lives we want to live. That's raising our families. That's learning how to run. That's learning how to cook. That's really, it's a combination of all of our passions. And I think the sooner we celebrate that, and the sooner we stop trying to force women to be professionals or to be mothers.
It's not an either or, is it?
It's not an either or.
Yeah, I so agree with you.
I think the label is dangerous, and hopefully our generation can start to slowly redefine what it looks like to be a modern woman who works.
Yeah, I've always thought that we women people are always juggling many balls, and you drop some and you keep on going. I don't believe that one size fits all, and I was very curious to see how you do it. How do you raise a confident girl? You've got 2 sons and a daughter.
Well, she's very confident now, but she's 4.5, so ask me in a decade. But I think, for me, I think confidence, I look to how my parents raised me, and they taught me to be self-reliant. My parents were not people who over-flattered. They were people who encouraged us, who pushed us to be the best we could be, but they also recognized that you gain confidence through small successes and then bigger successes. And I found that very true in my professional career. I was deeply insecure when I first started working. I felt
insecure about what? Because you were Donald Trump's daughter, or because
you questioned your abilities? I had performed very well in those schools, but here I was coming into the world of real estate as a young person who did not know what I was doing, and I recognized there would be a lot of people who would expect to see me stumble. So that was nerve-wracking to me, but I harnessed that anxiety, and ultimately it pushed me to work harder, to maybe be a little bit tougher, and to grow my own skill set. So I think the way you encourage and the way you build confidence is by giving your child the skills to ultimately succeed, because they have to really succeed on their own. And I think ultimately happiness. You can't be a confident, secure person if you're not happy. So, you know, when I look forward to my daughter, if I can provide her a safe, warm environment where she feels happy and loved, I think that goes a long way.
Do you come from the school of never let him see you sweat?
Well, I actually think it's good for children to see you sweat.
Yeah.
I think it's real, and I think it's humanizing. I wouldn't want somebody across the table in a negotiation to see me sweat, but you know, I think it's not real to pretend that everything's perfect. You know, if I sat up here and said, "Oh no, it's easy. Everything's easy," that's not true, and everyone knows that's not true. So I think, you know, as a woman and as someone with, you know, some level of public persona, I don't pretend that it's easy. I think that would
you know,
do
you're
us
so
ladies
judged
a
before.
disservice, but in a negotiation, I wouldn't let them see
But
me
you're
sweat.
judged before you even walk in the room, because everyone knows that Ivanka Trump is coming in, whether it's a business occasion, whether it's a personal occasion. You're judged all the time. And I'm wondering how you cope with that and deal with that.
So I found, in a certain way, earlier in my career, that made me more nervous. Now I kind of enjoy that. So to the extent the preconceived notions are negative ones,
Yeah.
it's fun to debunk them. Also, you know, in the context of work and in life, if somebody thinks that I'm not equipped to make the right decisions or to best them in a negotiation, that's better for me. They'll be less prepared and they'll be taken off guard. So, you know, I think that I try not to let others' preconceived notions motivate me too much. I think earlier on it was good. It sort of put a little fire in my belly. But ultimately, at the point I am in my life, what I value is the opinions of those who I love.
Yeah.
What I value is the opinions of those that I work with and have done business with. And if they see me in a negative way, I take that seriously. Anyone else, it's all noise. So.
Well, you know, we've heard your dad has said publicly that you're one of his closest advisors, that he trusts you more than most people in the world, you and your siblings, and certainly his inner circle. What's the best advice you've given him?
It depends in what capacity. So, you know, he's somebody who's been an incredible parent to me. He's been an incredible mentor to me, both as a parent, now realizing it's not so easy to raise kids, and so I respect that all the more at the point I am in my life right now, but also for the past decade, having worked alongside of him. And I've seen him as an executive and as an employer of thousands of people inspire them, set a bold vision for the company, give people the freedom to perform, but always be watching and helping and ensuring that that his vision is being executed on appropriately and correctly. And it's hard. It's hard to be an aspiring leader, and he is very inspirational to everyone who works with and for him. So I really, you know, through this process, I've been incredibly impressed by his instinct. I think his leadership skills are now being displayed on a much larger platform. So in a certain way, I'm not surprised by the success he's achieved.
You're not surprised? Because for many people, when it started, they said it's not going to last, it'll be done by Thanksgiving, it'll be done by Christmas, it'll be done by New Year's. One friend of mine said, I'm now running out of holidays because now we're going into the 4th of July. You believed when it first started that it was, did you think that he would be the presumptive nominee, Ivanka? What that means?
I try not to get too ahead of myself.
Yeah.
It's all very new to me, the whole experience and the whole process. But I wouldn't have been surprised. I've seen him time and time again achieve great things, and granted, this is a whole different scale, but when he sets his mind to something, and he's deeply passionate about something, I've never seen him not achieve the goals. So it's been amazing to watch.
Well, it hasn't come without criticism. How do you handle that, the criticism of your father? You know, for us, you know, who don't know him personally, you are his daughter. How do you handle the criticism of your dad on a really daily basis?
Well, on a human level, on a personal level, it can be very difficult and very challenging, especially when it's wrong, and often the criticism is wrong. So, you know, often the positions being taken by people are those who don't know him, or those who frankly don't like him. So it's a challenging thing, but I'm pretty thick-skinned, and I think my whole life has largely been in the public eye, and so I've seen different criticisms levied against him over the years. So I've learned to be a little bit more tolerant of it. And for me, what's most important, again, is the truth that I know. So
yeah, you said that there have been many misconceptions, and you said that because people think of you as a surrogate. Do you see yourself as a surrogate?
I see myself as a daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
So definitely not a surrogate. I'm a daughter who loves and respects my father.
What can you tell us about him as a father and as a man that people don't know, that you would be the only one in the room that would know this information?
Well, if I told you, I would no longer be the only one in the room who would know this information.
That's kind of the goal.
No,
that you're comfortable sharing, you know.
Yeah, no, I think America's really seeing my father. He's honest. He is, with him, what you see is what you get. Even if you don't like his viewpoint on a certain topic, I think people respect the fact that he's bold enough to say what he's actually thinking. And that's something that we've never really experienced in politics, and there should be a lot more of. And I think he's elevated, he's created dialogue around issues, and he's really, it's a powerful thing. So when you think about leadership and you think about what that means, it means setting an agenda. And he set the agenda for this whole political season on both sides of the aisle in terms of issues that are being discussed. So I think that's quite powerful.
You know, there was a big meeting this morning with Paul Ryan, and your daddy's meeting with Republican leaders. And as we were coming in, the phone was ringing, and I'm thinking, is Donald Trump calling to report in? On the way in the car, I got an email that said that they've had the meeting and that they both released a joint statement and said that the meeting went very positive this morning between Donald Trump and Paul Ryan. Do you think your dad plays nicely with others?
Well,
I'm not trying to be funny.
I mean,
I'm really
it depends in what
funny.
context. When people are coming at him, swinging punches either directly or behind the scenes. You know, he was running against 17 people, and they were spending tens of millions of dollars in negative advertising hitting him. So he was hitting back, and he has a pretty tough punch, but it's almost always a counter punch. So he can be very, very tough, and people know, again, what to expect. If they hit him, he's going to hit them back. In terms of, though, you know, playing nice with people, my father's built an enormous business. We've had many, many partners, transactions, ongoing existing relationships, and truthfully, you can't function in business, and everyone in this room knows that, if you can't get along with people. You have to be able to get along with people. To be able to run an organization, to be able to do deals. So, you know, part of negotiation and part of transacting is an ability to understand and recognize what the other person is looking to accomplish, and enabling them to feel good about the outcome if you're going to get to the end goal. So, and he's done that incredibly well throughout his life. So I think probably his top skill is that of a deal maker and a negotiator, and that's something this country needs.
Does the campaign seem especially nasty to you, or do you just think this is what politics is?
I think it's been a very interesting campaign season for sure. I think there's tremendously high energy. I think people want change. They want something different. There were a huge number of candidates, all very qualified, governors, senators. So I think it has been a rather tough campaign season, and you know, I think we'll see what's to come.
You know, the word is a spokesman from the Trump Organization released 2 days ago that if this goes according to plan from the Trump Organization, that you will be running the Trump Organization if he becomes president of the United States. I'm wondering how you're going to be first daughter and running the Trump, or first oldest daughter and running the Trump Organization.
Well, and that's, you know, right now that's my focus. I'm running a very large business alongside, actually multiple very large businesses alongside my siblings, Don and Eric, my adult siblings. And we all have our hands full. So, you know, my father is 100% focused on politics.
Are you not even going there in your mind?
It's slightly time-consuming.
Are you not even going there?
And for me, I'm focused on the growth of our business and all of our incredible employees.
But have you given any thought to possibly being in the White House?
No.
No?
We'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
So I try not to think beyond too far ahead. We'll see when we get there.
Tell me this. When it comes to running a business, what do you think it takes to be a good boss, from your point of view?
I think you have to be very passionate about what it is that you're doing. I think you have to understand people and how to relate to people, because I think, you know, taking a business to the next level, you want to have people who buy into your mission. It's not just selling product. You know, in my own company, I don't view myself as a company that sells shoes, clothing, and handbags. We view ourselves as a business seeking to inspire and empower young women and to give them great solution-oriented product that makes their life easier. But it's really the sort of empowering and inspiring part that gets me excited, and I think makes my team also get excited to come into the office. So, you know, I think you have to have a bold vision, and I think you have to work really, really hard. I've never known somebody who's very successful who cuts corners. I've never known somebody who's very successful who isn't passionate. That's sort of the great equalizer, because you can have the greatest education, all the degrees in the world, and if you don't love what you're doing, you're just not going to work as hard as somebody who does. Yep. So in the early years, they may have an advantage over you, but over time, it's the people who really do what they do from a place of passion that I believe ultimately succeed. And you see that in business. You see the people who have created the most important companies. They love it. They wouldn't want to do anything else.
There was a question on IvankaTrump.com today that says, what stands out for you in an interview? What's the best way to interview? And they were asking you, Ivanka, and I thought, okay.
Yeah,
I want to impress you. I want to get the job. What's the main thing that you're looking for when I walk in the door?
Well, so I think it depends, obviously, what level you're interviewing.
Senior level.
So, but I like people who are solution-oriented. It's incredibly important to me that my executive team and everyone, whether it's an intern or a senior executive, is somebody who runs towards the fire, not away from it. So, you know, people who can identify problems or potential problems and tell you about them in advance of them transpiring, and then also propose a solution for them. Those are the people I value most. But I think being also a self-starter is incredibly important. It's something, to me, you know, hiring the right people, and you hire people that put more pressure on themselves to excel than you could possibly put on them. Those are the type of people that I like working alongside of me. Those are the people who always succeed. So I think in the context of an interview, what I look for is, first of all, I like actually asking personal questions.
You do.
I think you gain a lot of perspective when you venture away from just their resume. So I like hearing about what they value, what they care about, and people who don't or can't speak with a lot of passion and energy about that is, you know, that's a bit of a red flag for me. But I also think it's important, and especially when you're younger and it's less clear what it is that you're going to bring to the table. I think people who draw that line and explain to you exactly what it is about your business that they think their past experience will lead them to be an asset for you in.
And what is you and Chelsea Clinton are both going through the same thing at the same time, and you all have been great friends. How are you navigating your friendship through all of this time?
Well, you know, we're both children who love our parents and are very supportive of our parents. So, you know, for us, that's there's not so much nuance around that. It's not about navigating our friendship. You know, I think we view ourselves as our own people, and you know, our friendship is distinct from politics.
Yeah, only because the two of them are butting heads, but I know that you and Chelsea are still remain tight. That's the point I wanted people to know through all of this. And I want to close, I want to talk about your mom, because we always hear about your dad. I want to know the best thing that you learned from your mom, who's also a badass. That we don't hear too much about. I just
See, if I give you just one, my mother will say, "What? You only learned one thing from me?" You know, I think I learned so many things from my mom. She was a real trailblazer. She was part of a generation of women who were doing it before it became usual to be working in a senior capacity, and she was working really, really hard and trying to figure out and navigate that balance and her priorities. But she was an incredible mother, and I think, you know, one of the things that she really modeled for me was it's okay to pursue your passions, and your passions can involve things outside of the home, but make sure your children know that you're available and accessible. And I always knew that no matter what it is that I needed my mother for, if I called her, she would be there. Yeah. And I had the same experience with my father. He was never too busy to pick up the telephone. And that was a great source of comfort for me when I was a little kid. So, you know, I respected the fact that they were both working, but I knew that I was ultimately their top priority.
And the name of this conference is, and we will end with this, The Significance as the New Success. What is your definition of success? And I'll tell you, the best one I've heard came from Maya Angelou, who says success to her meant loving who you are, loving what you do, and loving how you do it. I've never forgotten those words. So I would like you to close with your definition of success.
Well, that's a very good one.
That's a good one, right? I like that too.
For me, success is about being fulfilled, both personally and professionally, and being happy. I mean, it's as basic as being happy. If I'm not happy in a personal capacity, if I'm not happy within the context of my home, I can't be happy. So, you know, happiness with my family is the most important, and then professionally as well. If I went into the office every day and didn't want to be there, if I didn't love what I was doing, especially now that I'm a mother and there's a tremendous opportunity cost for me every time I set my foot out that door. I'm so aware of the fact that I'm leaving. You need to love what you're doing in a professional capacity as well. So for me, success is about being happy in my own life and in my own journey, and a little less sort of what people impose upon me in that regard.
Well, I promise you, with children anyway, I think it only gets better. And I think that's the case in most working relationships too. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On everything that you do.
Thank you.